The predictions are dire.
Large hail is anything more than 2 centimetres across, but giant hail is more than 5 centimetres across, and these are the kind of hailstones bigger than golf balls.
Wild storms expected to dump more than 100 millimetres of rain across swathes of eastern Australia in the coming days.
We'll be issuing further flood watches and warnings. Everything's really, really wet.
Communities cut off again.
Kerang will be isolated for at least 7, if not more, days. It is now too late to leave.
As weather warnings turn into health warnings.
Flooded sewers or septic tanks often contaminate flood water before it reaches your home. This can impact clean drinking water sources or have disease-carrying animals and rodents.
Victoria today announcing a $6.5 million package for health protection initiatives, plus free Japanese encephalitis vaccinations.
These are communities that, particularly along the Murray, are very familiar with the risks of mosquitoes, but that risk will be increased.
The Murray River is expected to peak on Sunday with fears it could reach 95 metres above sea level, breaking the 1993 flood record. Border towns Echuca in Victoria and Moama in New South Wales, the epicentre of the flood crisis.
All three rivers that run through Victoria meet right where we are.
It's really, really frightening.
It is a bit scary.
It definitely feels like the calm before the storm.
Locals desperately fighting the rising river, which is slowly creeping into town.
These houses are gone, which is hard to accept with the work that we put in, the hours, the days, clearing furniture, sandbagging, and just watching the water rise. And now it's really starting to rise.
And Georgie joins us now from Moama. Georgie, is reality really starting to set in with just how difficult the next few days will be for the residents in these communities?
Oh, Brownie, it's really starting to hit home. I think the overall mood around the communities that we were in today was one of this stunned exhaustion. It's almost as though there weren't as many people on the street because all of those last-minute preparations that could be done have been done. And, I mean, there's obvious markers that this flood is coming and that the river is rising, and it's rising pretty rapidly now. You can see behind me what was once a playground, and now that red slide is submerged in the water. You know, we've got a flying fox over there with no platform. There's barbecues and things underwater. Those are obvious signs, but when you talk to people, there are people who aren't walking their dogs anymore because they've seen snakes around. There are so many mosquitoes in the air. It's really dry and there's a lot of dust in the air because of all the sandbagging going on. So people are aware that it's coming. I think the exclamation point on that for us was when we joined you last night from Kerang and we got to see the community come out to watch as that main road, that major highway into Kerang, gets sandbagged up and walled off, and really then have that reality set in that they were preparing to be isolated for up to 2 weeks, if necessary, if these floodwaters do peak as high as they are expected to go.
You've been out and about with locals in Moama today. What are the final stages of their preparation looking like?
It's been pretty frantic. Anything that has needed to be done as of yesterday, they were able to get to that today. But I think it's been more maybe a help for their mental health, if anything, the residents, because they can talk to each other, they can busy their minds as well as they can, you know, as well as their hands, because everything, all of those preparations when it comes to sandbagging, most of that has been done. I got to chat to a couple of residents who took me around their homes, one of them being Dennis, who's a 62-year-old man who is on a disability pension. He's lived in his house on, you know, the banks of the Murray River since he was 8 years old. It's never been inundated, but while he was trying to sandbag it up himself, the wall collapsed and he got all of these community members to come and help him and rebuild it. And he's hopeful that maybe once again he will be able to save his home. We went to a holiday park here in Moama where the community members were trying desperately to create a levee to hold back the river that's now on their doorstep. They've got, you know, these riverfront cabins which were never riverfront previously, and they're trying to save this pool of theirs that is in this incredible shape of Australia with Tasmania as the spa. This infrastructure is what everyone is worried about as well, and I think that that's something that hopefully now, in a way, we'll see what comes, because they've been waiting and waiting and waiting. And I think it's honestly the wait that is making people even more anxious at the moment. But now we'll get to see what actually is going to happen.
Well, George, it sounds like a remarkable community, but fingers crossed those peaks don't reach the levels that are predicted up there. So thanks for your time.
Thanks, Brownie.